When did you first taste failure? Not just the little stumbles, not the harmless rejections, but real soul-crushing, you question everything about yourself, failure? Maybe it was the first time you heard the word no, after giving everything you had. Maybe it was the time you gave your heart to a dream, and life answered with silence. Maybe you invested months, years into something that never gave back. We've all met failure, and it doesn't knock politely. It barges in, it interrupts, it humiliates. But here's what nobody told you. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the door. The key isn't to avoid it. The key is to unlock it. And the people who rise, the people who soar, the people who seem unstoppable, they aren't the ones who never failed. They're the ones who figured out how to keep becoming even when everything was falling apart. Let me take you there. Because this is not just a speech. This is your mirror, your map, your moment. You ready? Success is not for the lucky. It's not handed down in genetics or granted by some mysterious force. Success is reserved for the relentless, the ones who learn how to dance with failure and not flinch. And before you roll your eyes or say, "I've heard that before," let me challenge you with this. If failure didn't exist, would you still grow? Think about that. If everything came easy, would you still push yourself to become more? See, failure isn't just part of the journey. It is the very terrain on which success is built. Without it, there's no wisdom. Without it, there's no strength. Without it, there's no story. But what blocks most people from walking through the barrier is not failure itself. It's their relationship with it. Let's talk about mindset. Because here's the truth. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they believe failure defines them. They attach their identity to the outcome. I failed, so I must be a failure. But hear me clearly. Failure is an event. It is not a person. You're not broken. You're not done. You're not beyond repair. You're in the middle of the refining process, the exact same one that every giant before you has walked through. Thomas Edison tried 0 times to create the light bulb. 10,000. Imagine if he quit at 999. You wouldn't be reading this in light. But Edison didn't see those attempts as mistakes, saw them as information. Feedback, data, growth. That's the mindset of a master. So ask yourself, what story do you tell yourself when you fall short? Is it one of shame and retreat? Or is it one of learning and recalibration? The story you tell yourself, that's the foundation of everything. Now let's dig deeper. Because belief is the soil your success will either die in or grow from. Most people think belief is about positive thinking, that if you say enough affirmations, your life will magically shift. But real belief is not words. It's behavior. It's what you choose to do when your back is against the wall. It's waking up after a failure and still showing up, still swinging, still sweating. That's belief in action. You can't fake belief. You demonstrate it. You prove to yourself through movement that you still believe in your worth, your dream, your direction. And when you act in belief long enough, something amazing happens. The world starts to believe in you too, because people can feel it. They know when someone walks into a room and has already defeated failure in their mind. That person commands respect not because they're loud, but because they've walked through the fire and they're still here. So let me ask you, what do you believe about you? Do you believe your past disqualifies you? Do you believe your failures are final? Or do you believe there's more in you than you've ever let out? Because belief is not about ego. It's about alignment. And until your beliefs align with the vision of who you want to become, you will self-sabotage every single time. Clarity. Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they're confused. They haven't defined what success means to them. So every failure feels like devastation when really it was just misdirection. You cannot hit a target you never set. You can't overcome what you haven't named. Clarity is power. It makes failure useful. When you're clear on what you want, every mistake becomes a compass. Oh, not this way? Good. Let's adjust. Let's sharpen. Let's move. But when you're unclear, every mistake feels like an earthquake. The successful treat failure like feedback. The unclear treat failure like final judgment. So define it. What does success mean to you? Not your parents, not society, not social media. You. Is it freedom, impact, mastery, peace? Once you're clear, failure becomes directional. And when failure becomes directional, it becomes a gift. Vision is the fuel. Clarity defines the destination. But vision makes you burn for it. Vision gives pain a purpose. When the nights are long, the rejections are brutal, and the support is gone. Vision is what whispers, we're not done yet. But vision isn't just about goals. It's about identity. You don't just imagine what you want to have you visualize who you must become. A clear vision forces you to change. It doesn't let you stay mediocre. It challenges you. It calls out the stronger version of you hiding underneath the hesitation. So paint your vision vividly. See it, smell it, taste it, feel it. If your vision doesn't give you goosebumps, it's not big enough. Let it be so clear that failure feels like a detour, not a death sentence. Now we arrive at purpose. Why do you want it? Because this matters more than you think. When the failures pile up and the doubts scream louder than your dreams, your why is what keeps you breathing. Weak reasons breed weak effort. Strong purpose pulls you through the mud and keeps your head above water. If your reason for rising isn't strong enough to move you through pain, it won't last. So dig deeper. Is it your family? Is it the legacy you want to leave? Is it proving to yourself after all these years that you are worthy? Your purpose doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to ignite you. Let it be personal. Let it be raw. And let it be the reason you turn failure into fuel. Discipline. Discipline, the unsexy word that nobody wants to talk about. But let me tell you something real. Discipline is love in motion. It's you saying to your dream, I will show up for you, even when I don't feel like it. Because motivation fades, emotions shift, but discipline is a decision. And most people fail not because they lack ambition, but because they lack consistency. They show up once, get burned, and never return. But success belongs to the consistent, not the intense. Discipline is choosing to rise when comfort begs you to sit. It's doing the reps, even when the results haven't shown up yet. It's faith in practice. It's proof that you're serious. And the more you choose discipline, the more your failures become stepping stones, not tombstones. Let's now walk into action, because nothing changes until you move. You can think, believe, visualize, and journal all you want. But if you don't act, you don't grow. The world rewards doers. And here's the paradox: most people wait until they feel ready to take action. But you will never feel fully ready. You will never be 100% sure. You will never have every answer. So act anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move while fear is still screaming. Massive success is built on small, repeated actions. You don't climb Everest in one leap. You climb it one disciplined step at a time. So take the step, even if you're scared, even if you failed last time, even if no one claps for you. Move. Because when you move, you build momentum. And momentum beats motivation every single time. Gratitude. Now, you might be thinking, what does gratitude have to do with failure? Because failure doesn't just test your strategy, it tests your spirit. And if your spirit becomes bitter, if your heart grows cold, you lose more than momentum. You lose yourself. Gratitude is the secret weapon that softens the blow of failure while sharpening your focus for the next round. It's you looking at life and saying, I may not have what I want yet, but I'm stronger because of the struggle. I'm wiser because of the wound. Gratitude isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about seeing value in the pain. It's about learning to say, thank you, failure. You showed me what doesn't work. You revealed who's real. You humbled my ego. You revealed my gaps. You taught me where I need to grow. Gratitude makes you resilient. Because when you're grateful, you're grounded. And grounded people don't panic when the storm comes. They plant deeper roots. Now let's talk about adaptability. Because the truth is, life will not go according to your plans. You will be thrown off course. You will be disappointed. And here's the reality. The most successful people aren't the smartest. They're the most adaptable. They don't marry one method. They stay loyal to the mission, but flexible in the approach. When one door closes, they don't stare at it for 10 years hoping it will open again. They pivot. They ask better questions. What does this failure make possible now? Adaptability is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's you saying, my dream still lives, even if the method has to evolve. Most people fail because they refuse to change direction. They keep pushing in the same broken way, hoping something will magically shift. But the world belongs to those who can bend without breaking, those who adjust without abandoning their purpose. Then comes resilience, not just grit, not just endurance, but deep inner resilience. This is the kind of power that builds not in success, but in your darkest moments. It's the voice inside you that says, I'm tired, but I'm not done. I'm bleeding, but I'm still breathing. I'm hurting, but I'm healing. Resilience is forged in the fire of repeated failure. It's when everything in you wants to quit, but something stronger rises. You don't learn resilience from books. You earn it from battles. And if you've been knocked down lately, hear this. You're not broken. You're becoming. You're not weak. You're in training. Your resilience is being chiseled in silence so that when the moment comes, you won't just survive, you'll lead. And now we arrive at the final force that ties it all together, learning. Because failure without reflection is wasted. But failure with reflection, that's your masterclass. Every setback is a syllabus. Every misstep is a mentor. But only if you pause long enough to ask, what is this here to teach me? Don't rush past the pain. Don't numb it. Don't ignore it. Sit with it. Study it. Squeeze the wisdom from it. Because success is not built on talent alone. It's built on the ability to extract insight from every fall. You see, a person who fails once and never learns is stuck. But a person who fails 5 times and grows 5 levels deeper, that person is unstoppable. So study yourself. Study your habits, your patterns, your blind spots. Become a student of your own life. And when you learn, really learn, you stop fearing failure because you know it always brings a gift. Now let me bring it all together, not as a conclusion, but as a call to action. You failed. So what? You're scarred. Good. You've been humbled. Even better. Because now you have what most people spend their whole lives avoiding, the raw material for greatness. And the truth is this. The most successful people you admire, they're not where they are in spite of failure. They're there because of it. They failed louder. They failed bigger. They failed with their whole heart. But they got back up faster. They learned quicker. They loved deeper. They trusted themselves, even when the world said, sit down. So now it's your turn. Your dream still lives. Your vision still matters. And your failures, they are not graves. They are gardens. Now rise. Let the fire in your bones be louder than the fear in your mind. Let your heart beat for something greater than perfection. Let your life echo with resilience. Because the key to overcoming failure's barrier is you. And you were never meant to quit. Let's go deeper. Because even after you rise from failure once, life doesn't promise you won't fall again. This isn't a one-time test. This is a lifestyle. And the people who become truly unshakable are the ones who develop what I call emotional immunity. They don't just know how to get back up. They've trained their nervous system to remain steady when the storm hits. They've failed so many times that failure no longer frightens them, it focuses them. So let me ask you, can you train yourself to feel the sting and still move forward? Can you be rejected and not reduce your self-worth? Can you lose and not label yourself a loser? Because when you can do that, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Unstoppable. Because your emotions no longer control your execution. And that's the edge most people never develop. Here's another truth that no one likes to hear. Some failure is your fault. And that's okay. Because extreme ownership is not about blame, it's about power. You see, as long as it's someone else's fault, you have no control. But when you say, no, this was on me, you reclaim the keys to your own evolution. You stop pointing fingers and start building character. And that's when transformation happens. Not when you make excuses, but when you make adjustments. Be honest with yourself. Maybe you didn't prepare. Maybe you procrastinated. Maybe you let fear drive the wheel. Own it. Forgive yourself. Then fix it. That's how leaders are mad not in the glow of applause, but in the silence of self-awareness. Now we talk about identity. Because if you don't change who you are at the core, no strategy will stick. You must become the kind of person who succeeds. Not just act like one, become one. And here's the key most miss. Identity is built through repetition, not revelation. It's not one powerful quote, one emotional video, or one good day that shifts you. It's the daily decision to act in alignment with the person you want to be. You want to be confident? Speak with truth, even when your voice shakes. You want to be consistent? Show up, even when motivation leaves. You want to be unstoppable? Do the work, even when nobody is watching. Identity isn't built in public. It's forged in the hidden hours when you could have quit but chose not to. Let's now get brutally honest about what separates the 1% who break through from the 99% who don't. Emotional discipline. You've been trained to chase feelings. Feel good? Work hard. Feel bad? Shrink back. But feelings are not your God. They are not your compass. They are not your identity. They are signals, not instructions. And the mature mind knows how to hear the feeling and still do what needs to be done. The gym doesn't care how you feel. The vision doesn't care if you're tired. The dream doesn't check your emotional state before deciding whether to come true. Discipline is doing it regardless. It's saying, my feelings are real, but my future matters more. That's the shift that changes your life. And now we arrive at something rarely discussed, but absolutely vital. Forgiveness. Because one of the greatest barriers to success is not external failure. It's internal resentment. You can't rise while dragging bitterness. You can't build while holding grudges. Some of you aren't failing because you lack strategy. You're failing because your heart is heavy. You're mad at the people who left. You're mad at the boss who didn't see your worth. You're mad at yourself for not being perfect. But listen carefully. You don't forgive for them. You forgive to move. Forgiveness is fuel. It clears the runway for your greatness. Let go not because they deserve it, but because you do. Because your future deserves the full version of you, not the one weighed down by the past. Let's go further. Let's talk about environment. You can't plant a seed in concrete and expect it to bloom. And you can't place your dream in toxic soil and expect it to grow. Your surroundings matter. The conversations you hear, the energy you absorb, the expectations around you, they either pull you forward or keep you small. So ask yourself, are you surrounded by vision or by fear? By people who see your greatness or by people who keep you tame? Success is not just about effort, it's about exposure. What are you breathing in every day? If your environment doesn't stretch you, it shrinks you. Sometimes the biggest breakthrough is not internal, it's positional. Move. Upgrade your circle. Clean your space. Feed your mind. Because you cannot become who you're meant to be while staying where you've always been. We're getting closer to the part of you that's been waiting to awaken. Let's talk about timing. Because some of you feel like you're late. You failed. And now you think it's too late to rise again. Let me free you from that lie. You're not late. You're right on time for the version of you that's being born. Your delay is not denial. It's development. You weren't supposed to succeed back then because who you were couldn't carry the weight of where you were going. You needed the heartbreak. You needed the silence. You needed the isolation. Because sometimes it takes breaking to become whole. So breathe. You didn't miss your window. Your window is opening now because you're finally becoming the person who's ready to walk through it. Let me end this not with motivation, but with a mandate. You were not put here to live small. You were not designed to exist in the shadow of your failures. You were built for greatness, not comfort. For impact, not survival. So here's your choice. Keep dragging the weight of your past failure, or use it to build your future fortress. Turn your wounds into wisdom. Turn your regret into rhythm. Turn your losses into leverage. Because the key was never out there. It's been in you the whole time. And now, the world is waiting to see what you'll do with it. Rise. Let me tell you a secret most people spend their whole lives avoiding. Safety is the greatest illusion ever sold. And the price you pay for chasing it is your potential. Every great thing you've ever dreamed of, every bold goal you've dared to write down, lives on the other side of risk. Not because life is cruel, not because success is reserved for the lucky, but because growth requires movement and movement requires uncertainty. You don't evolve in safety. You don't grow in comfort. And you definitely don't reach your greatest self by doing what you already know. You were not built to stay in one place. There is something in your spirit that craves expansion, that needs to break the walls of what's familiar so you can meet the version of you you haven't become yet. And that's the real reason why risk is required. Because until you step into the unknown, you don't just avoid failure, you also avoid transformation. Until you take the leap, you'll never know what wings were waiting to unfold. You can stay safe, or you can become powerful. But you can't be both. Look around. Every person who has ever inspired you risked. They risked rejection. They risked failure. They risked being misunderstood, laughed at, walked away from. But they chose the discomfort of becoming over the illusion of security. Why? Because deep down they knew the risk of regret is always greater than the risk of failure. Because fear rarely announces itself as fear. It speaks with the voice of logic. It wears the mask of being realistic. It whispers things like, now's not the right time. What if you lose everything? Or, you're not ready yet. But that's not wisdom. That's not caution. That's camouflaged fear. Fear that has learned to speak in the language of justification. You call it timing. You call it strategy. You call it preparation. But what you're really doing is postponing your life. And here's what's cruel. Every day you delay your leap, your confidence erodes. Every time you ignore that inner pull, your belief withers. And one day you don't even need fear to stop you because you've trained yourself to stay small. Most people don't fail because they risked and lost. They fail because they never leapt at all. They wake up in the same job with the same habits, around the same people, telling the same story that they're waiting for the right moment. But the right moment is not something you wait for. It's something you decide to make. You don't become legendary by playing defense. You don't build an extraordinary life by avoiding discomfort. You rise by choosing to feel fear and move anyway. Every risk you avoid today becomes a boundary for tomorrow. And soon, you don't live in freedom. You live in a fenced version of your potential. You pace around your own limits and call it being responsible. But it's not responsibility. It's resignation. It's surrender. Dressed up in excuses. You want power? Then you have to be willing to risk comfort. You want growth? Then you have to be willing to risk familiarity. You want greatness? Then you have to be willing to risk being seen, being stretched, and maybe even failing but rising anyway. Because the truth is this, risk doesn't just shape outcomes. It reveals who you are. It pulls the curtain back. It strips away comfort and exposes your character. When the guarantee is gone, who do you become? Do you retreat or do you rise? You see, uncertainty is not your enemy, it's your training ground. It's where strength is formed. It's where resilience is forged, not by what you avoid, but by what you walk through. You don't become strong by reading about risk. You become strong by stepping into it again and again until the fear becomes familiar and the unknown becomes home. Because every time you risk, you reclaim power. Not because the outcome is guaranteed, but because you decided you were worth the attempt. You said, I will not let comfort keep me caged. You said, I'd rather be stretched than safe. You said, I am not here to play small. And something changes in you when you live like that. You stop begging life to hand you certainty, and you start building the capacity to lead through uncertainty. That's when people notice. That's when your energy shifts. That's when doors open. Not because you knocked, but because your energy breaks walls. Because people don't follow the most talented. They follow the bravest. The ones who risk being wrong. The ones who speak when it's hard. The ones who move when it's messy. The ones who go first. And here's the truth that sets the courageous apart. You don't rise by being fearless. You rise by being faithful in spite of fear. Then listen closely, because this is where it all comes together. Risk is not recklessness. It's not carelessness. It's not blind ambition. Risk is reverence. It's saying to life, I trust what's inside of me more than I fear what's in front of me. It's honoring your calling with movement. It's proving to yourself that your dreams are not decoration, they are destiny. And destiny doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to boldness. There is no such thing as a meaningful life without risk. Because anything worth living for, love, purpose, freedom, greatness, it all demands something of you. It asks you to let go of who you were so you can become who you're meant to be. It asks you to lose certainty and find conviction. It asks you to surrender comfort and pick up courage. It asks you to walk forward even when the road is foggy, even when the voices say, play it safe, even when your knees shake and say, I'm doing it anyway. Because you don't get to keep your old life and build a new one. You don't get to keep your comfort and claim your calling. You don't get to stay safe and rise. You have to choose. And here's the miracle. When you choose risk, you unlock revelation. You meet parts of yourself that only pressure can reveal. You discover strength you didn't know you had. You become magnetic not because you're fearless, but because you've been through fear and kept going. And soon you'll realize the risk wasn't risking at all. The real risk was never risking anything. The real danger was letting the dream die inside you because you were too afraid to trust the wings that were waiting to grow. So today, if you hear that voice calling you to stretch, to leap, to move, listen to it. That's not recklessness. That's not foolishness. That's life inviting you into greatness. And your job is to say yes.